We all want to be liked. We want to lead, to succeed, and to feel important in our daily lives. So we devour life hacks, podcast episodes, and self-help articles, hoping to find a quick shortcut to charisma. But there is a biological trap we inevitably fall into. Under pressure, our default state takes over. When someone disagrees with us or frustrates us, we instantly revert to our selfish instincts. We criticize, we argue, we demand what we want. This chart shows how we prioritize our internal world. As a rule, when we aren't actively focusing on a specific problem, we spend roughly 95% of our time thinking about ourselves. We are trapped inside our own perspective. In 1936, Dale Carnegie published what many consider the definitive manual for overcoming this human flaw: How to Win Friends and Influence People. Yet Carnegie believed that reading his book simply to gather information meant you had failed the assignment. Quoting the philosopher Herbert Spencer, he reminded his students that the great aim of education is not knowledge, but action. There is a massive distance between knowing you should smile and actually forcing yourself to do it when an angry customer is screaming at you. Simply memorizing a list of social rules is useless. Real mastery requires a mechanical system to override your default biology. Early in his career, Carnegie taught adult education courses for business and professional workers in New York City. He quickly realized that traditional lectures were failing these students. They didn't want abstract academic theories. They were returning to high-pressure offices the very next morning, and they needed practical methods they could apply immediately. So Carnegie pivoted. He forced his students to test out his principles in their daily lives, come back, and report their results. He transformed the traditional classroom into a laboratory of human relationships. The core hypothesis tested in this lab was simple. To get what you want, you have to stop talking about what you want. Focus only on your own desires, and you end up like the man trying to get a calf into a barn by physically pushing it. He fails because he is only thinking about his need to move the animal, ignoring what the calf actually wants. Contrast that with the industrialist Andrew Carnegie. As a boy, he needed food for his pet rabbits. Instead of demanding help, he offered the neighborhood children a deal. If they picked enough clover, he would name the bunnies after them. He aroused an eager want in his peers. Carnegie called this the empathy inversion, the grueling practice of shifting your focus to the other person's desires. But how do you do that? How did Carnegie's students train themselves to suppress their own impulses in the middle of a heated conversation? They relied on specific mechanics. The first was a system of self-analysis. One Wall Street bank president kept a weekly weekend appointment with himself for years. He would sit down and review every social blunder he made over the past 7 days, analyzing his mistakes and deciding how he would handle them better next time. The second mechanic was gamification. Carnegie instructed his students to make a game out of habit building by paying a colleague $1 every time they caught them violating a social principle. The third mechanic was the pre-interview walk. Look at this conversation map. Before important meetings, students were taught to pace outside an office for up to 2 hours. They would build out a mental tree like this to chart the other person's interests and anticipate counterarguments before ever stepping foot inside. These practices prove that Carnegie's methods are not about passive reading. They constitute an active system of daily behavioral conditioning. Dale Carnegie treated human relations as a technical skill rather than an innate personality trait. Mastering this skill requires lifelong discipline and constant self-correction against our own biological instincts. You do not achieve influence by trying to manipulate or change other people. True mastery only comes from studying and changing yourself. Every environment you enter, from the corporate boardroom to the line at the post office, is an opportunity. You have your own personal human laboratory. It's time to start experimenting. Dale Carnegie treated human relations as a technical skill rather than an innate personality trait. Mastering this skill requires lifelong discipline and constant self-correction against our own biological instincts. You do not achieve influence by trying to manipulate or change other people. True mastery only comes from studying and changing yourself. Every environment you enter, from the corporate boardroom to the line at the post office, is an opportunity. You have your own personal human laboratory. It's time to start experimenting. Dale Carnegie treated human relations as a technical skill rather than an innate personality trait. Mastering this skill requires lifelong discipline and constant self-correction against our own biological instincts. You do not achieve influence by trying to manipulate or change other people. True mastery only comes from studying and changing yourself. Every environment you enter, from the corporate boardroom to the line at the post office, is an opportunity. You have your own personal human laboratory. It's time to start experimenting.